A tradition in Australia is when we begin a meeting, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we come from. And I come to you today from the lands of the Wurundjeri people. And I pay my respects to their elders, both past and present. So to introduce myself, I am an executive coach and mentor. I practice as a veterinary surgeon, and there I learned how biological systems work. I received a PhD in America in veterinary science, and there I realised the depth of knowledge that you can explore. I then had senior executive positions in the Australian government, working in complex national systems, working with diverse stakeholders who do not agree. I took a personal journey moving from being a scientist to being involved in leadership positions. And I started understanding why human systems are different from other systems. I'm now involved in coaching, mentoring and consultancy practices where I've learned how to know the difference between those three and when to apply which. At Leading Well, we appreciate the importance of how systems work at an individual, team, leader and organisation level. How to apply the core principles of how systems flourish and languish, and how to uncover the hidden. My particular interests involve men in leadership and also this concept of space that we'll be considering today. So I work in an Australian collective of coaches and mentors that's called Leading Well. We're a company that does leadership development and applies systemic understanding and principles. We are very focused on the well-being of the system, being part of and parts within the system, which are individuals, teams, leaders and organisations. So we see well-being as a foundation to the performance of organisations. So coming into this webinar, I wanted to say that this provides my perspective with an Australian and Western influence. We are talking today about space for ourselves and our clients or mentees. We each have our own ways in which we create an optimal environment or space for ourselves and for our clients. We may suspend all the else that is happening in the world. We may have breathing practices and mindfulness practices. One of those breathing practices is simply to take 3 deep breaths. And I invite you to take 3 deep breaths at the moment. And when you do, that, appreciate your breathing. The inhale, the pause, the exhale, the pause. So this is our space tonight, and I invite you into that space that is safe, non-judgemental, and encourages openness, curiosity, and exploration. So to explore what the concept of space is in mentoring, I asked the question, what is the best working relationship possible between 2 people? What space do we need as a mentor, and what space does the person we are mentoring, the mentee, need to most benefit from this space? And indeed, what might we have missed creating our best working relationships in the past? So I want to introduce a model of energy, space and time. In a mentoring session, there are important dynamics happening between time and energy and space. I am proposing that we need to pay attention to all three, and we need all three to be effective mentors. And we need to pay attention to how this dynamic plays out both for ourselves and our clients. So the first thing to ask is, what is my relationship to my time, my energy, and my space? And so personally, to ask yourself these questions as you're entering into a mentoring conversation: do I have the, do I have the time? Do I have the energy? And have I created the space that is needed for myself and also my mentee? And this is an internal space, so not a physical space about chairs and tables. Yes, chairs and tables, but an internal space and a connection space between me and the mentee. And then what is my relation to my mentee as far as time, energy, and space? So am I giving the best amount of time? Am I giving them the best energy? Am I giving them the space they need? So together, our times are the same. Are our energies aligned? And what space do we both need to hold? So as an example, we have 60 minutes, which is time. I'm excited to meet with you. That's my energy. But I'm actually thinking about my last meeting, not this meeting, but my last meeting. So that's a space idea. And for my mentee, they may be thinking, yes, we have 60 minutes. They're also excited to meet you. But in their space, they may be thinking, I hope he or she tells me what I should do. So Paul, just as an example, he's a very successful person who works long hours, and you can see this in the yellow box here. He's very enthusiastic about his work in the red box, and he's very focused and driven by his own success in the green box. So when he meets with his mentee, he is late for the meeting and needs to leave early. I've expressed this as his time being distant from what he's offering his mentee. So he's late for the meeting and he needs to leave early. He's very enthusiastic about the mentee's work, but as it relates to Paul himself, and he's thinking about his latest project and does not suffer fools. I'm not sure whether you're used to that expression, but that means if someone else is considered a fool, then they won't interact with them. They won't give them connection. And so together, the time that Paul is offering to his mentee is limited. He's very busy. The energy is limited as well. It's conditional with a focus on Paul, and the space for his mentee is lacking and disjointed. And just before we go on, can you see that I'm using spatial connections to describe what's happening with Paul? So you can use post-it notes or something else to allow you to explain things or to allow a mentee to look at the spatial relationships between things. So this is using space to map how someone's feeling or thinking. My apologies, I know that wasn't in the script.
That's fine. Thank you.
So let's look more at space. So in a conversation, in a meeting with another person, we can do three things about the space that we hold for ourselves and that we hold for another person. We can create the space, we can hold the space, and we can explore the space. So this is how we work with the concept of space. So firstly, we need to create a space, an environment, the conditions that are right for our conversation. Humans need to feel safe, that we will not be judged, and that we can be curious and explore. And as I said at the start, we all have different ways of creating an optimal space or environment for ourselves and for our clients. And that may include breathing and mindfulness practices that you can do together. And then the next step is to invite them into that space. So how do we hold a space? This is not about giving definite answers and solving problems for our mentee, because that's actually not in their best interests. This is not about telling them what they should do based on our experiences, because this does not serve them well. And while mentors come from a place of experience, that may not work for the mentee in their current situation. And so I offer the Albert Einstein quote, the thinking that got us to where we are is not the thinking that will get us to where we want to be. So in holding a space, we need to create a safe environment and hold that, and also explore and go beyond the boundaries of that safe environment. I think I might have a slide missing, unfortunately, because I wanted to talk more about holding the space, which I'll do now. Let me just go back. So holding a space, we've created a space for ourselves and our mentee. So holding the space is where we're trying not to react. We let them speak and we listen. We ask clarifying questions, not judging or assuming. In this holding space, we do not listen to speak, we listen to understand. We're offering a calmness here, and an English expression is the word equanimity. It's a very difficult space to hold, but we're not getting drawn into the content that they're talking about. We're also not getting triggered into reacting as we might have done in our past systems and organisations. This is a space where we allow the mentee to go very deep within. Silence is key. And then through our experiences and subject expertise, we may see barriers that we then invite them to open up to possibility. So now looking at exploring a space, and we've been over some of this before, we're going to start opening up that space. And another Albert Einstein quote, "A ship is always safe at the shore, but that is not what it was built for." And this is about the mentee learning that they can actually create, that you've held a space for them, and they can create their own safe place to explore. And so the way that I look at this is that you're opening up a door to a really large space for them. So this is a very interesting space for a mentor, because you may be tempted to jump to answers, to solve their problems and issues. So this is a very lovely space. It's sitting in the unknown. This is exploring their unknown without definite answers, being curious and really expanding the space for them. And some of the questions that you can use here is, what is possible? What is the best imaginable? And those questions are from the theory of appreciative inquiry. So we can go into a lot more detail about the creating space, the holding space, and the exploring space. And for a lot of mentors, it can be quite challenging to explore with someone their unknowns rather than jumping to the answers. I said before that when we were talking about Paul, that there are ways that you can creatively use space. So you can use small pieces of paper and post-it notes and ask where different issues that they may be exploring, what their relationship is spatially to those issues. So the conversation now has moved from thinking about internal space to actually using space and mapping on a table, for example, in a conversation. You don't have to have post-it notes. You can be sitting in a restaurant or cafe with salt and pepper shakers, bowls, knives and forks, in other situations, even stones. And then what you can do is to say, if this bowl represents you, let's bring in your supervisor as the salt shaker. And where does your supervisor, where do you place them in relationship to yourself? So you can explore various elements of space. For example, size. For example, in relation to your supervisor, do you feel small or large? You can explore direction. For example, how far away or how close do you feel to that person or that issue? And then you might choose to bring in another element, workload, for example, and position that with the supervisor and yourself. We also sometimes use the clock face. So to say, if you are at 12 o'clock, where is the issue? And that allows you to have conversations even over electronic media like Zoom, where you don't even have to see what they're saying because they describe it to you on the clock face. For example, I'm at 12 o'clock and I feel my boss is at 6 o'clock. And when I bring workload in as an issue, that's right in the middle of the clock. Let me put it another way. If I'm at 12 o'clock and my boss is at 6 o'clock and we bring in workload, that is between 9 and 3 o'clock. And when workload is there, my supervisor feels very large and I feel very small. So that allows quite a deep, a mentee can go into a very deep reflection space simply by describing where they are in relation to some of the issues that they may be dealing with. And so in that exploring space, I ask you the question, in the space of your mentoring relationships, what is now possible with this concept of space to explore? So we have largely finished the webinar, and IC's translation efforts have been amazing, and it hasn't taken as much time as I thought it might. So if it's possible, I see it'd be lovely to hear from some people about what's coming up for them in this space that we've created today around the concept of space. So any questions or things that have helped in your thinking?
Craig has a question. From my understanding, the space we've talked about today is more of an atmosphere. It's rather than the physical space that I used to thought. Am I right?
Yes, it is the. It is like atmosphere. I think about it in terms of space, and I think about it in terms of space because I think about walking into large open fields. But Craig, you are absolutely correct. You could think about this in terms of atmosphere as well.
Thank you. Atmosphere is included in the space. It is part of the space.
Yes.
Thank you.
And there's a question in the chat box from Sunshine.
Oh, sorry. How to coordinate the inner space of the mentor with the mentee. Would you like to translate that, IC, and then I'll answer it? There is a beautiful concept that I've learned from Thomas Hubel, who is a trauma expert, and that concept is called interoception. And it's basically, I feel you feeling me. And so to answer your question, Sunshine, I think you have to go through this type of process to coordinate the inner space of the mentor with the mentee. And maybe I'll go back to Paul. I'll quickly go back. So Paul, thinking about his latest project and Not Suffering Fools, he's in a different space. It's as if he's in another room to his mentee. And, and his, I'm just looking for the slide. I think it's Intero, I-N-T-E-R-O-ception, Fisher. Interoception. Sorry, I was answering a chat comment. And remember that the mentee is also the mentee is also hoping that Paul tells me what I should do. So they're in another room as well. And so we have to create a space for ourselves, and through that interoception process, if we're open to it, we then are inviting somebody into that space that we're holding for them. Fernando asks the question, what are the key points of creating different spaces online and offline? That's a very good question. And actually, I think to create spaces, either online or offline, are probably fairly similar. And it's about practicing centering and breathing and presence. And presence being P-R-E-S-E-N-C-E. And there's a lot of discussion at the moment in leadership literature around presence. And I think today everybody is rushing around. They say they're very busy with lots of things to do. And so you can create space, whether it's online or offline, simply by slowing yourself down and breathing slowly. And that's creating the space, the environment, the atmosphere to welcome the other person in. So thank you for those questions. That's lovely questions about space. So if you're keen to explore this a little bit more, I'm on LinkedIn. My email address is there. At Leading Well, we do systemic leadership training. I'd be very happy to talk to you about what systemic leadership is. We do executive coaching and mentoring. We run development programs and modules. We run mentoring programs. Sorry. Go ahead, Icy. I'm also an EMCC Global Accreditation Manager, and that's a new position, and so I'll be working with EMCC China, and part of my role is to advise on accrediting coaching and mentoring programs, advise on accrediting individuals as coaches and mentors, and also assessing internal mentoring programs against the international standard for mentoring and coaching programs. So I am truly honoured to be here today, and I thank you for your the space that you've offered to explore some of these concepts with you.
Thank you, Tim, for that wonderful sharing. Thank you. I mean, actually, as we discussed it at the very beginning, this topic is very, very critical for many mentors or either coaches, for them to work with their, counterpart. 那我现在跟你讲，就是说，就像我前面跟 Tim 讲的，就是像创造导师辅导空间，或者是教练空间。这在我们整个在导师辅导或教练辅导里面是个非常重要的环节。如果说很多时候没有了导师辅导空间或者没有教练辅导空间的时候，可能这个工作呢就进行不下去，所以这个是非常重要的一件事情。那么今天呢 Tim 给我们分享了分别不同时间、空间、能量这不同的角度，给我们打开一扇窗子，说怎么去做这一块，怎么去提升这一个，怎么去创造一个比较好的一个导师辅导空间，这个对咱们是非常有价值的。那么后面呢，大家如果说感兴趣的话 ，OK， 后面我们还会继续去跟 Tim 去沟通，去想办法看，就可能会有他就会有在这方面会有非常有经验，因为他本身呢也是 EMCC 的认证经理，就是说，也就是说。未来有哪些朋友希望就通过学习去获得欧洲导师教练协会关于导师类的认证，那么你的认证材料呢可能会被发给 Tim， 因为呢他也会去帮我们去看这一块，好吗？就这边就简单跟大家去分享一下。Okay, thank you Tim for your wonderful sharing today. You know how many audience now online? We have roughly around 2,700 people online to watch our videos today.
Wow.
That's a lot. Because we cannot accept so many people in the Zoom for discussion. Yes. Yeah, it's hard, it's difficult. So, but all the other people, they were in other local platform, broadcasting form to watch our videos.
Fantastic.
So usually our programs, in average, we receive around 2,000 to 3,000 audience online for our program. And afterwards, there are also some other people that don't have time to join now, and they will replay our video and then get, learn from our webinars. So now,
Are you doing 100 of these this year?
We will do 100 webinars this year.
Wow.
100.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's a fantastic effort.
Thank you. We just keep on doing this. And then, so in that, we bring all this very talented idea or practice to China. And then we have this Chinese translation. So in that case, we have more and more people understand who is EMCC, what are they doing, and what are the mentoring and coaching and supervision and so on. So this will help us to build up a very big community in these professions.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Fisher. And can I also acknowledge IC's efforts? Absolutely wonderful working with you, IC. It's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fisher. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe I still have one more request for everyone.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone, we just open your window or open your camera. We all have a photo together. This will be a very good moment. We will keep this moment for all of us.
Excellent.
And then we just try to share this with a lot of other people. Thank you. So let's say, okay, Ning, Joy, and Fernando, okay, Joy and Fernando, let's all open our window and then put your face in front. Have the best face in front of us. Okay, Fernando, get the face here up to front. Okay, great. Joy, can you open your camera? Joy, 能把那个视频打开吗？我们来看一下配张照片，好吧 ？Joy, okay, that's okay. So Fernando, open your camera. Okay. Let's
有些人可能不方便。
Okay, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Thank you. Great. So everyone have a good moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle and Ivy, Ying, and Joy, and everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Have a good day. Have a good night. Thank you. Okay. Bye.